Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Spiritual Successor, a comedy video game design podcast where we take your lovely video game ideas and turn them into the next AAA video game titles. I am your holiday host, Blake Rea.
And I'm your anti-holiday host, AJ Hart. I hate the holidays.
Who wronged you?
Welcome to the Yuletime Hog. I lit a pig on fire.
I'm the Grunch.
I would use a different name for it, but I don't know what Disney does and doesn't own anymore. And as such, I'm afraid to touch that.
You know what?
Touch the letter I.
It's so funny. I was actually looking that it just complete coincidence. I also had that question last night of like, because my family was over and I was thinking of like, oh man, maybe we can turn on like the Muppets Christmas Carol or the Grinch. And then I was like, oh, but who owns the Grinch? I got it. Is it on Disney Plus?
The Grinch?
Well, because we have that fucking dystopian thing now where it's like, all right, if I want to watch one movie, I have to like I have a couple different movies. I have to own like 5 different streaming services, right? So I was like, the Grinch feels like a Disney Plus property, right? No, it's owned by it's on Hulu because it's a Universal property.
Damn, you know what? Intellectual property rights suck shit because I actually would love to see a bunch of different versions of the Grinch. Like, could you imagine what the Disney Grinch is like versus the Netflix Grinch? The Netflix Grinch would cuss and you see his balls out.
It'd be like the Castlevania.
Actually, I'm wrong. Sorry, let me take that again because I am wrong. I'm sorry, I thought about it for a little bit. I used my critical thinking skills. The Netflix Grinch is sponsored and drinks Coca-Cola. The HBO Grinch has his balls out.
Well, I was going to say, it's like, I feel like you already have the Grinch on Netflix. Isn't just Skeletor that whole energy? It's just grumpy. He's buff. He has his balls out all the time. I don't know if you've seen the
Skeletor doesn't have his balls out. He
has his cheeks out and his balls out at all times. Look at it.
He doesn't have balls. He's a skeleton. There's no bones there.
No, his face is a skeleton. That's the weird thing that always weirded me out about Skeletor. His face is a skeleton, but his body is still like fleshy. Like he's still alive. He just had his face melted away.
He's thick boned.
He's thick boned.
Blake Rea, it's our last podcast episode of the year.
It is. We should talk about so at the end of every year, we usually talk about like what our favorite games were this year. And what was your favorite? Like, what was your favorite solo adventure this year?
I think my favorite solo adventure. What did I play? You know what? My favorite solo adventure was a game that's been out for a long time. I think it was a majority of Sekiro. It was Sekiro. Sekiro was my favorite game that I played this year.
I mean, it didn't come out a long time ago.
Right because it came out a grip ago. That had to have been 2017?
No, dude. What are you talking about? Sekiro's not that old. Sekiro was made in... Oh, I misspelled Sekiro, and now it's giving me the wrong...
Initial release date 2019. Okay.
Yeah, so it's only 2 years ago. It's only 2 years ago, yeah.
But that doesn't feel right. But I think what I realized was I didn't play a lot of, like, big new games this year. Granted, there weren't a lot of new games this year, but I played a lot of indie adventures. You know, I went through the same camp. Yeah. I went through Skull, I went through Loop Hero. Right here at the end, over the last 2 weeks, I went over Solar Ash. And I played a lot of indie stuff, but I didn't play any of the big ones. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I didn't get a console upgrade. And so I probably would have played a lot more newer games if I had Xbox Game Pass or if I had the money for a PlayStation 5 and Deathloop. I guess just Deathloop is the only game. Returnal. I would have played that.
I feel I liked Returnal texturally, but I know it's a game like most roguelikes. I can only play a little bit of it, and then I couldn't commit to it. It's like Hades. I loved Hades for like the first 30 run.
Did you pick up Deathloop?
No, I didn't pick up Deathloop because I am also broke and don't want to spend $700 for a PS5. No, I'm in the same camp where it's like I did just a crap ton of indie games. I think it was because like this past year, even though we were coming out of I almost used panty, and I don't want to give you that satisfaction.
No, that's what we call it for short around here. The last 2 years we've been in a little bit of a panty.
Even though I was in a pandemic, my schedule was still really busy, so I kind of found myself gravitating towards like smaller experiences or experiences that I can pick up in like small sips. Like you and I both really got into Loop Hero a few months back, and that was like that was like the perfect game for like, oh, I just had a long day. I don't want to think. I just want to sit here and veg out and just relax. Just
it was the perfect thing to have on the background
nice.
while you were hanging out in Discord.
It's so nice. It was so nice. But what was your favorite indie game of the past year, if you had to pick one?
I think the one that brought me the most joy was probably Pico Park, which was a game that I ended up playing on Discord, I think with like 5 friends. I don't know if you ever made it for one of those Pico Park nights.
No.
But Pico Park is a little platformer where everybody plays as a little cat. And there'll be platforming challenges. Like, for example, you're all tied together. So if one person falls, everybody's going to fall down the hole.
Oh my God, that's cute. Okay.
There was little mini games where like there'd be a timer going at the top, and you had to have there was a timer or a time number at the top, and then every little cat had a button next to them with a timer going on theirs. And if you stopped your timer, whatever the second was on, all those numbers would be added up, and you needed that total time to be less than the top time.
Oh my God.
It was like everybody had to wait and press their button as late as possible so that you could get under the goal.
So that's cool. So it's just, does that fall into the realm of like micro games?
Mini games where you have to have like 8 people together.
Is it a mini game or a micro game? Because I know those are on the rise.
I think some of them were micro games. Some of them were like little platforming, like actual little platforming levels.
Oh, that's cute. All right. So why was that? Like, was it the mechanics of the game, or was it just
joy to be on a group yelling and hollering and hooting for everybody to get their shit right? Because like it was a little bit of like it was such a big team also that you're in there with all of your friends and you can harass everybody and bully everybody and cheer for everybody. It kind of gave me that rush sometimes of like baby's first raid room, because like we were playing I was playing well there was
I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
There are times when you play a raid with people where you're like, I messed up, I need to do better, or you'll catch somebody and be like, hey, you're doing fine, you just made a little hiccup, you got to do this a little bit better, here's my advice. And we got to do that with friends of mine that had never had that experience of like, we're in a challenging level, I don't know how to coordinate, and now we're going to do it.
I'm also imagining that was easier to get people together than it is getting like a Destiny raid going.
Oh yeah, it was so much easier.
Everybody log in and do it.
Big cooperative mini games. It was a real blast. I really enjoyed Pico Park. It was also like $5 on Steam or something like that. It's dirt cheap.
You know what we did, like, just speaking of like group games, and then I can give you my like personal, like my favorite game, and then we'll jump into the episode. But, you know, I had a similar experience with our friend group with Dead by Daylight. I know that's a game that's been out for like forever now, but I have always wanted to play it. But it's like one of those games that's like, okay, you can't really play it unless you have friends, or you like just log into, you know, a rando server, and that's just not as fun. But there were moments where it's like we would. Especially during the pandemic, we would just be like, hey, everybody's home, let's just all log in and play a new game. And towards the end of the pandemic, I mean, we're still in it, but like when it was really hardcore lockdown, our buddy Dev suggested that we all pick up Dead by Daylight, and we ended up doing it. And it was just, I love games where we have to where just things go wrong really fast, because it's just, I don't think I ever laugh harder, where it's like you and me are like sitting there at a generator, and then like you and I are quietly talking to one another like, hey AJ, just make sure to get this right, dude, do this, and then one of us just inevitably fucks up, and it's always complemented by that loud ass bang and explosion, and just like, and you just know something's, it's like, oh fuck me. And then you all scatter like roaches as like the killer comes, and then you could just hear whoever's playing the killer just laughing because like they knew you fucked up super bad. And it was just so much fun. It was one of those games where the talking after the session was just as fun as playing the session. It's like a similar thing of Among Us. It was like after a game of Among Us, you would just sit and be like, oh, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you did that. And it's just everybody's laughing and having a good time. And it's just all against the backdrop of this murder game. I think I don't know. I think it's really cute
that both of the games that you and I think of as like the funnest, most fun we had with games this year were cooperative online space games.
Yeah, I mean, well, look at it.
I think a lot of that has to do with where we're at in the pandemic.
Yeah, I was just about to say is like, well, you and I have gone through like just our friendship alone is like you've had to relocate a couple of times, and like you and I have basically had to change. Before you moved, you and I would like physically meet up and just go do things. Yeah, we
used to hang out like at least once a week, but now
more than that, you know. I mean, like you and I would hang out all the time, but now it's like you and I still want to hang out, so we kind of had to adapt to like how we hung out, and I think our friendship has survived through video games. You know what I mean? Of course, you and I work together and do creative shit, but like I think that's why it's so meaningful to me is like, yeah, like video games is how I maintain my friendship with the people closest to me. Like hell, like the bulk of my friends exist online now. Like the people I talk to as of late, I've met only once in person. You know what I mean? And I think I think that's something that could only happen through video games. But before we jump into the episode really quick, I think that's really wholesome and sweet, but we should be talking about stupid, bad video games. I just want to say...
I have a game award for us to give out. Because now that we've talked about the game that brought us the most joy. Hey, Blake, video game award, spiritual successor. What video game do you think you would have liked the most if you had played it?
Would I? Deathloop, hands down, is Deathloop. If I had money, well, I mean, I could play it on my PC, but like, I'm like, no, I want to have a physical copy of that game because I'm an old timer, and I think I still like physical. I still like looking at a wall of games. This is the last generation of physical games. Oh yeah,
we're done with physicals, and whatever the PS6 is, there's no physical games.
There's no physical games. It's all going to be subscription services, and that scares me. It scares me because I grew up in PS2 era where I had my 5 different copies of Resident Evil 4. I was a very happy boy. Also Turok Xbox original, actually, or was that Xbox 360? I don't remember.
There's a Turok 64, bud, but there was an Xbox 360 Turok, and that game did rule. You're right.
That game fucking rocked. Remember when fuck it, Game of the Year is Turok from 2004.
game I would have liked the most if I had played it this year. Turok 64.
Like, you got a bow that had explosives on it, and you ended up getting like the flame gun, and then there's that one guy that fucking hated you, but then that is that very classic like Hollywood thing of like, we're cool now, we're best buds. I love that game.
Horizon Zero Dawn just the new Turok?
I think the same thing could be said about Crysis 3, where you have the bow with the explosive on it.
And you shoot dinosaurs. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
I think Turok
power fantasy of shooting a dinosaur with a bow and arrow.
It's
a constant. We've always wanted to have this. It's in Turok. It's in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Close enough.
It's in Crysis. It's in Ark, everybody's favorite live service game, Ark and Ark 2.
Hey, you dig on Ark, but that is one of the biggest games in the world, bro. Like, it's up there.
My sister likes it.
I mean, and your sister's a professional games journalist, so like, yeah. Like,
she's not. What the fuck?
I love just making shit up on the podcast sometimes, because it's just like, no, the only person that can fact check me is also on the podcast. So
that's sometimes a joke just for me, apparently.
Sometimes it gets through, sometimes it doesn't.
Blake, I'm sick of talking about real video games.
Hold on, I never got to say what my favorite game of the year is. I won't talk a whole lot about it. Can I mention it? Because I want more people to play.
I'm sorry, I thought that your favorite game of the year was Dead by Daylight.
That was my favorite group game. My favorite, my favorite game that actually came out this year was Phantom Abyss. That is the Mirror's Edge Temple Runner game. And they constantly add updates. And that falls into that same thing I was telling you about, where it's like, I love games where it's just, I can come home at the end of the day and just kind of like meld into something, like let my brain melt into a game. And Phantom Abyss is just like I get in that flow state of like dodging blades and sliding and jumping and just swinging across gaps. And it is so much fun. If you haven't played it, play it. Love that game. AJ, do you want me? Yeah, what's up?
Pico Park did not release this year. It's been out since 2016. I just got into it because TikTok made it popular this year. All right. I had to pick a different game of the year.
Inscription, I bet, is your favorite.
Oh, Inscription is definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a contender for Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
But Loop Hero was also really charming. I really liked the writing of Loop Hero because I think Loop Hero is... What is my Game of the Year? I didn't think about this at all this year.
Mm-mm.
Can I say Turok 64? Because I don't want to think about this anymore.
Yes, you could take Turok 64. Hell, that's my game of the year.
I'll make a tweet about my game of the year once I've thought about it a little bit more.
It's not. Okay, I'll do you one better. I don't think it's Turok 64. I think it's Turok Xbox 360. That's game of the year for me. How about that?
All right, deal.
All right. Do you want to give the first game submission, or do you want me to give the first game submission?
The last game submission of the year.
Yeah, boy.
This comes from Blue Bowser Stan account at
I guess you're going to do it.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Third person, Pacman with driving controls.
Okay, hold on real quick. I also got the submission and I brought it up because I wanted to make a point of something. So, okay. Look at the formula. Look at the formula of Pac-Man. You are a character collecting little like golden dots, and that's part of the game. And
Blake, I am intimately aware of the controls of Pac-Man because I recently watched a video from Action Button, which is a 3-hour review of Pac-Man. I am so plugged into Pac-Man right now.
How much of that did you watch?
All 3 hours. I'm going to plug this channel. You should check out Action Button. This guy, as a living, kind of like helps. He's been a game dev and will help like shape games, and he'll play them and give his honest reviews when he's at work. This was what he did as a career. And then he decided to make YouTube videos where he does this for an audience to review some of the best games of all time.
I could summarize Pac-Man in 10 minutes. Like, what do you do for 3 hours? Does he go... Like,
check it out.
Does he like go into like level design or like how to make things harder?
Design. He talks about what high-end Pac-Man looks like. He talks about where Konami went with Pac-Man after the release of the original Pac-Man and the success of it.
Okay.
He talks about how much Pac-Man has changed from being Pac-Man to now. He analyzes how like there is a way where you could potentially put your money at Pac-Man and drag your feet long enough to pay rent for $25 a month.
Okay. All right. I guess there's more content to Pac-Man than I thought. I thought he was just talking about literally the game itself, but it sounds like he also has a little bit of like game dev history in there too. Okay,
I will say he talked about the video game a lot more for his Doom video, and that one was 3.5 hours.
Doom, sweet. Dude, if we're plugging like channels, what's that one game? There's this one.
Is yours at all important to Pac-Man? That's the only reason why I got mine in. You can't just come on here and plug willy-nilly. It has to be germane.
But he's cool. He did he did a whole documentary on the history of red barrels in video games. It's so cool.
That is pretty cool.
It's so fucking awesome.
All right, what's the channel? You got my interest.
Ahoy! You did like this whole history on boxes and for like video game packaging, and it's like a 23-minute video. It's so interesting and engaging. So let me go back to the original point I was making. So I think driving Pac-Man is just the new Mario Racer, because if you think about it, how do you go faster in Mario Kart? You just collect coins. You have to have a higher coin ratio or coins in your reserve, and the more coins you have, the more you can accelerate and the faster you go in your car. So I feel like that has already been done. So I say we drop the idea of collecting things, and it's all about just being a car chasing down other cars to eat them. But to add a little bit of flavor to this is, what happens when you eat another car? Do you take
get
over
more
that
wheels.
car? Do you get more? You get more wheels? I'm wondering if like if you can do some sort of racer where you need to eat all of the other racers before a lap is complete, and then a la Pacman, they respawn.
I don't know if I like the death race idea. I like the idea of it being in one big map that you constantly are driving around in. I don't want to do laps.
Oh, okay. So is this just like a corridor simulator where you're just a car going down corridors and you have to turn?
It is a corridor. It is the world's most boring car driving game because like I think that we just put in like the Forza turning and driving. This game would be such a good driving game if it wasn't in such tight corners all the time. Every time you need to make a turn, you have to make it an awkward K-turn where you're like scraping and trading paint with every corner imaginable.
Oh
because
my God.
The turns are just a little too tight for you to make. And you have to make these turns every single time with ghosts coming down those corridors.
Holy shit. Okay, you're onto something here. So like, okay, rather than it being like, to add a little bit of stink on this, all of the cars are race cars that were not that are meant to go really fast, but like all race cars, they're meant to go in a straight line. Like drag cars are not meant to turn. They don't have any turning ability. So all of our cars are like that, and you have to it's the most complex, like you can't no corridor allows you to do like a regular turn. Like you said, it's all like you have to do K turns, you have to do 2-point turns, you have to do 3-point turns, and it's all the while ghosts are chasing the shit out of you. To add a little bit more,
I'll make the ghosts slow just so that you feel more stressed out when they go.
But they're
have them built so that
like
when they run at you, they slow down the closer they get to you.
Oh, that's fucking creepy, actually. And but as they get closer, like their sound gets louder and louder and louder. So it's like even though they're getting slower, but like every time, because I'm picturing these ghosts are fucking huge, right? So every time they like close their teeth, you just hear that chomp like echo down the corridor, and it's like really fucking scary. Ooh, actually,
they do just look like the normal Pacman ghosts, except there's a bunch of grime on them, like they're Freddy Fazbear.
Yes. Oh, it'd be super cool actually if we made this a little bit of a horror game. You can only see what's in your head and tail lights, so you can't see what's on the side of you. So it's like everything's pitch black, and because picture it this way: if it was well lit, you would feel confident in going faster, right?
That's usually how video games work.
Yeah, so it's like if it's darker, it's like, oh, I gotta be cautious now because I don't want to, because my car has health, right? I don't want one of my tires to go out, and that makes turning even harder, man. So you have to you kind of have to inch along, applying a little bit of gas to get around. What if you run out of gas? Do you just have to fucking sit there and
that's what the pellets are. The pellets are gas, so that you don't run out. So that you have to remember where you're at on the map and whether or not you can make it to the other zone for gasoline.
Ooh, it'd be kind of cool too. What if your car, like in its dash, had like one of those little alien scanners? The one that like sends out a wave and it gives you the boop 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 boop, and that's just how you roughly know where the pellets and the ghosts are. So it's like, oh, okay, so even though you can't see them, you can constantly know that they're around you. And then it's just when they show up, like when you're going down a corridor, it's like fucking terrifying.
Yeah, just like normal Pac-Man.
Fuck yeah. All right, let me give you another video game for me. I'm going to hit you with a game. This one comes to us from Gazzer at Just Gazzer. Sad Child Cooking Sim. AJ, I don't know if you knew this, but did you know there's a very famous cookbook called Microwave Meals for One? Did you know about
what? Hold on, adding that to my Amazon cart.
It is a cookbook about making meals only using a microwave, and I don't know about you, but that's inherently sad.
It's definitely sad and not at all a symbol of where we are as a society, being expected to make 40-hour work weeks and have time to cook for yourself. Definitely. Pretty pathetic to want to cook.
You're right.
Microwave food, add to cart. Pretty pathetic. Hold on. Hey, could you vamp for a minute? I need to get my credit card information.
Okay, not a problem. So the reason, okay, yes, you're right. We do live. Brother,
if you two have just plugged a cookbook for me that I can make decent ass meals, like,
but it's not decent meals.
Things.
Like, the meals aren't good.
My fucking sheet scheduled. It's like I eat masala on Mondays, I eat pizza on Tuesdays, Wednesdays I eat leftover pizza. Thursdays I do burgers, and Fridays is the day I get to eat out. If I need a cookbook that's just like, hey, here's dog shit easy meals for you, bud. Yes, this rules.
Okay, so thing to keep in mind, this came out in 1999. So this was definitely before internet and all that other jazz.
Oh, so it was before air fryers. Oh, I'm about to blow this guy's mind.
Microwave Cooking for One, December 31st, 1999. Fast, easy, and economical, the recipes in Microwave Cooking for One are ideal for individuals, whether they live alone or share busy modern households. From breakfast through dinner, fresh, delicious meals can be prepared to satisfying personal tastes without wasted food, overheated kitchens, and messy cleanup. I don't know about you, and I think it's very empowering. To be able to just be like, all right, cool, I had like a 40-hour work week and I could come home and I could make some meatloaf in a microwave. It's just the idea of cooking something in a microwave. It makes me think of like, okay, I'm eating another $1 banquet meal. I'm eating another
Class trader.
What do you mean?
Just say microwave, it's pretty good, actually.
Dude, I am a Totino's Pizza Rolls man for fucking life. I love that shit. But what I'm picturing, AJ, just fucking yes and me. I understand.
Amy's little pesto raviolis in the microwave.
AJ, just yes and me. I understand that like complaining about microwave food is classist and all this shit, but I'm trying to lean into the submission of sad child microwave submission. Just right, yes right, and right. me,
okay,
bro.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, you set me up. I'll go with you.
So Gazzer suggested a sad child cooking simulator. So, and the reason I go with a microwave is because this is a sitting simulator where you are sitting in front of in a microwave and cooking various meals. And then as you cook these various meals, I'm wondering if you can tell some sort of story with that. How long have these banquet meals been sitting in that freezer? What weird eldritch shit is happening to them? How does this kid break away from the microwave and go do this crazy story? This is kind of just Little Inferno, isn't it?
This is Little Inferno. You know what we could do? Perhaps this is a video game about a child that is going to crack the code on how to get the Spy Kids microwave thing to work. You ever seen Spy Kids and seen the microwave in that movie?
Holy shit, yeah. Where they just toss in a packet and then suddenly it's just a bunch of McDonald's food. Ooh,
yes,
yeah.
that is exactly what I'm talking about. Man, Spy Kids is a good movie. So this is a video game about a child who has a surplus of popcorn bags. And he's like, well, popcorn, I could put in seeds and microwave it and it explodes into popcorn. Certainly, something here will microwave and expand and explode into delicious McDonald's Burger King. Yummy.
McDonald's Burger King. That's how we get past it. It's just all one word, no space. McDonald's Burger King.
If it's the same thing.
So, okay, you know what this weirdly reminds me of? Do you remember like how early alchemists, their big goal was to like how to turn lead and copper into gold, but yes. Nobody could ever figure it out. This gives me that same vibe. So is this kind of like an alchemist simulator, but with like whatever junk food you have in your fridge?
Yes,
so it's like,
I think that people could see it being an alchemist simulator. It is just a bunch of drop-down menus about a child with a freezer. But I'll tell you what, the kid will be dressed up in like steampunk attire.
No, he's a spy kid. He's hiding out. He's like he's on a mission and he's hiding out on that island and he has to pass the time.
Are you proposing that this is the Spy Kids inventor?
Yeah, why not? Like this is the kid who came up with the packet. So he's like, actually, what's funnier? Is this it? Like, would it be funnier if it was the Spy Kid, or it would be like two of us Joe Schmoes at home trying to replicate the Spy Kid's microwave, and then somehow at the end of it making it work? I think that one's kind of funnier because it's just like, I love Spy Kids. I want to emulate it. And then you're just like throwing shit that shouldn't be in a microwave, like tinfoil into a microwave.
Because I want to bring back the Spy Kids IP. I know that it had a rough go at it when they tried to make a fourth Spy Kids and they had a dog in it. That was the problem. They put a fucking dog in the Spy Kids movie. Come on.
No, I get it. Like,
you want me to take your movie seriously when you have a fucking dog on the poster? Come
fuck you, Air Bud. Air Bud was a great movie. Remember there were so many, like, Cats versus Dogs. There were so many movies in the early 2000s that did, like, talking dog shtick, and it was great. Maybe they did a little too many of them, but, like, the early ones were good.
They did too many, and so I'm not interested anymore. Also, those are cool dogs.
Betrayer.
This is like a little yipper dog. You know what I mean? Well, yo,
why
does the dog have the Iron Man chest piece? What the fuck is going on here?
Are you saying small dogs aren't cool, AJ?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Mike Dainty Dintmont would like to have a word with you.
All Time in the World poster, please? Because this dog is Iron Man and has laser eyes.
All the time in the world. Yeah, bro, this is like this is Spy Kids, dude. You're talking about a world where, like, oh, this is actually pretty cool looking. Look at this. I love how badly photoshopped this is, actually. Like, it doesn't, like, the perspective isn't right. Like, his chest is facing one way, but the Iron Man thing is facing us. This is bad. All right, whatever. I don't care.
I found another poster. The dog's head can come off and extend.
Hey, real quickly, so I'm looking at the Spy Kids thing, and I want to apply this to circle this back to our game. So
is the baby a spy too?
I don't know. So there's this poster where this kid from the Spy Kids movie has these, like, electronic gloves that are shooting like plasma, right? And underneath that it says the gloves are coming off. Stupid. And then, but here's the important part: Spy Kids, all the time in the world in 4D aroma scope. Isn't aroma implying smell? AJ, our game has to be an aroma scope. This is the game that releases alongside Spy Kids all the time in the world. This is a cooking game that you can smell. Is that what aroma? Yeah, aroma scope. Is that
anything?
I mean, well, I think it would be funny because imagine when you're cooking something and it turns out really yucky, it smells really bad.
Why don't video games have aroma scope? Can we talk about that? How come no one's ever been
real quickly,
check out this
real quickly,
the
pause you gave me implies that this is a bad idea and we should do another one. You want to do another video game idea?
Yeah. Hey, good read on
me. You just be honest with me, man. You don't need to lie to me.
This comes from Dr. Peener, at Dr. Peener, a murder mystery game in which you are trying to solve a murder of a guy that nobody likes. A lot of unreliable witnesses and tampered evidence. But I don't blame him. That guy was a dick.
So this is a game where you're trying to solve the murder of, like, somebody that nobody wants his murder to be solved?
Yeah. Basically, somebody died, and everyone was like, fuck, good. Fuck him. Hated that guy anyway. And then you're like, so did you see this guy earlier today? And the person's going to be like, no, I didn't. What a coincidence.
You know what? It's kind of crazy. There is actually a real life example of this.
What's it called?
Yeah, there's a real life example of this. BuzzFeed Unsolved did it, where there was this one guy in this small town that basically fucking terrorized this town. And he was stealing people's cattle. He went onto somebody else's land to steal their cattle. That guy told the guy who owns that land, told the guy to get off of his land, and he shot that guy in self-defense. The guy trying to steal the land shot the owner of the land in quote self-defense and got himself a New York lawyer and got away with it.
Damn.
And he also did a bunch of other horrible shit. But so what happened was the town got together in, like, their meeting hall to discuss how they're gonna kill this guy and get away with it, and they did. And they fucking did. They went out as soon as that meeting, like, happened. They went out, killed that guy, and the whole town won't say who killed him, who's pulled the trigger on him, and it's still a mystery to this day. Like, even the sheriff, I think, is in on it. Like, he knows, but he's not willing to say, because this guy was so fucking bad. So really fascinating. I definitely recommend checking it out. But this should emulate that. Maybe we don't like lean on it too hard because that guy was like a real
that piece
real
of
world
shit. Case. We should use a real world case that's much earlier and much further back in time. You are the detective trying to figure out who the hell killed Julius Caesar. And everyone's like, I don't know, man. We were having a crazy bender and we woke up.
Crazy bender.
And you gotta be there and you're like, I know you guys killed him. Can we just please? And they're like, nah. I don't know Julius Caesar.
I'm gonna get the theater kids in a tizzy. We call it E2 Brute. How about that?
Yes, of course.
And that's like that's our rosebud is like he gets the lead of this game is like E2 Brute, and then he like goes down this rabbit hole of like, okay, he found out maybe the case starts off as like you think it's like a shut and close case where it's like, okay, that word is going around Brute. It's obviously Brutus was part of it.
Everybody's saying it to each other like a funny meme. Yeah. Like they'll be like, hey, too Brute, and they'll laugh about it. They're like, dude,
that guy was getting stabbed, and you know what he said? He tried being poetic and shit and said E2 Brute, and like, oh, what a fucking loser.
Motherfucker looked at his best friend and was all like, you're doing it too? What an idiot.
And that's okay. So, and that's what starts off our case. So initially, our investigator
keeps saying that, and our main character's like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
Yeah. So like, she's like doing this. Anyway. She's doing this investigation. It starts off with like, okay, she discovers it's Brutus, right? But then like the rabbit hole gets bigger. It's like, okay, it's not just Brutus. It's the entire fucking parliament that got together. I don't know if parliament is the right word for ancient Rome. Political structure, but whatever. It is so now it's like, okay, maybe what if it's like it's an open world a la Deathloop where you need to find evidence to tie each of the murderers to the scene. So you are actually a much better example. It's like Sinking City. It's an open world investigator game by Frogware. Like, yes. I know that's kind of obscure, but
everybody tells lies. Nobody like all the evidence you will find in the game is actual like physical evidence, because that can't, it'll be tampered with, but like there'll be some truth in it most of the time. But every time you talk to somebody, they're always telling lies.
See, so I love that.
The real gameplay loop is that you, the player, have to figure out what lies contradict each other, and then you'll be able to find out what a real truth is. Let me pitch you on something. Require that the player will have to have their own notebook, but I love that.
It's the Mind Palace.
Players having their own notebook, it should come back in video games. Thanks.
You know what's like I love about this is what if it was like the speech system of Vampire, like that. It's that complex, but anytime somebody talks to you, everything is a lie. No, yes. Like literally everything coming out of their mouth, like from their name to who they are to what they do, everything is a lie. And you can only find out truths by comparing it, like you said, in your notebook. It's like, okay, this person said like they are the head of the treasury. They're the head of finances. But then like you find out the other person like is... They will tell everything they say about themselves is a lie, but everything they say about other people is the truth. So it's like it's like that puzzle of like, I only tell lies. Well, I only tell the truth. And then the other one's like, well, two of these people are lying or something like that.
What I love about this is like, again, like the only detective game that I really can point towards is Danganronpa. I did just finish Danganronpa 2, but something that happens really commonly in that game is there's this bear mascot that'll run around and he'll talk to people and he'll be like, no, you'll never believe what happened. But the thing about this stupid fucking bear is that like 20% of the time he's telling lies. This is a game filled with Monokumas. This is a game where everybody's going to be telling lies all the time.
Oh my!
And I think that when they tell lies, they aren't even well hidden lies. I think that the characters will like give you like a look, and they'll like feel, and they'll give you a voice. They'll be like, "I definitely wasn't there. Just ask my boy Jeremy." I was trying to think of an old Greek name, and I couldn't think of anything, so you got Jeremy. Anyway, so you go ask Jeremy what's up.
Good. That's wonderful. I'm good quality.
And Jeremy's like, "Oh yeah, I definitely saw them." Mm-hmm. So you know they're lying. It's just but that's not helpful. It's not helpful that you know everybody is lying. The problem is that they all lie.
Yeah, but you have like an eidetic memory because of your sweet notebook. So it's like you're constantly going back and forth between your notes and conversations.
Man, the amount of times that you're going to have to go back and forth between two characters that are on opposite sides of town, it's going to be so common.
Yummy, 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 yummy. I just did that in Fallout 3 last night, and it was not the fucking worst thing ever. I fucking love that as a game design thing.
Yes, this game is going to feel like Shenmue. You are going to be running around talking to people and then being forced to run around and talk to people more for one line of dialogue each.
You know, outside of the kind of bad ending, that was the other big fucking horrible thing about Sinking City for me. Like, the story was really good. Like, the side missions were awesome. Like, the actual, like, investigating was... the mechanics were so fucking cool, but it was so guilty of that. Whereas, like, all right, go to the other side of the world that has no fast travel points to. It's like, all right, fuck me, I guess. And then you just have to walk your ass. It takes like an hour and a half to get to the other side of the map. The map's huge, and there's not much going on. Whatever, rant over. But this is exactly that. You get to walk through Rome, and you get to solve little things there. So, okay. We're coming up towards the end of the episode because we got to do a little bit of a quick episode because AJ and I are both fighting our bus schedules. AJ, what is our nugget, and how can we apply modifiers to it?
I think our nugget's going to be Et tu, Brute.
You think Et tu, Brute?
Yeah.
Okay, that's such a... Okay, I like this. How can we... So our modifier this week is mini games. This actually works out really well because these are mini games I'm picturing that you can do on your way between investigations or something like that. Or maybe there are certain people you have to complete mini games around the city to get nuggets of information that you can then use to press during your investigation.
Are the mini games perhaps how you like incriminate people and not prosecute? What's it called when you ask people a lot of questions?
Interrogate?
Interrogate, thank you.
So okay, hold on. You're on an interesting idea here. Are you implying that after you do like a word investigation with somebody, you need to beat them in a mini game to get their confession?
Yes. I'm saying it's shit like Danganronpa where it's like, congratulations, you've managed to suss out where the lies are. But if I present to you 4 different sentences with one spelling typo, can you identify which is correctly written? You've determined all of my lies, but can you read?
No, it's that fucking prosy D bit. It's like, all right, so the murder weapon was with a knife, but can you spell knife? Yes. Yes, I can.
Yes, it is that gimmick.
God, Prosy D, you're a fucking gem. Okay, so this one, I think every great open world game I've learned has to have, as Turtle Lover 224 suggests, a fishing mini game. The only way you're going to get a confession out of this fucker is if you catch a higher kilo fish than him or her. Whoever, I don't know. Actually, I think all the people that murdered Caesar were guys. I think.
Yeah,
right?
But only men fish. Only men care about fishing, so.
No, that's no. But I like that our main characters are women, by the way. I do want to, I think that'll be a lot of fun. So you got to whoop this man's ass in fishing. And that's actually, that would be kind of cool. So
and that's way more common than you think. I think that you have to beat people in fishing anytime you're trying to anytime you're trying to intimidate and make a fisherman listen to you, you have to catch a bigger fish than them. This is a constant minigame.
No,
every time you try to argue with a boatman, the boatman's like, well, I'm a better fish than you, so I ain't got to tell nothing.
I think what you should do, and if you don't mind, I think every single person who killed Caesar, I don't know how many people it was, let's just say it's 8, like, because there's 8 levels to this game or whatever. Each one of them has their own mini game that you have to beat them in. But when you start their chapter, during your investigation, you play a bunch of practice rounds of that mini game with the people that you are chasing leads on.
Yes,
so it's
yes.
So it's like, okay, our first killer.
Every single one of these like people that you're hunting down feels like a Yakuza side plot.
Yes, you have to like do a bunch of like, okay, you're going to talk to Brutus's assistant while they're fishing on a boat. You sneak onto that boat and you're fishing right next to them and you're going to interview them right as you both are fishing. And they'll only acknowledge you when you catch a bigger fish than them. And then you can ask them a question.
And you have to, you'll ask them a question. They'll tell you a lie. You'll go find somebody else that's nearby. But of course, you're in the fishing zone. So when you talk to this person, you have to do another fishing mini game. But this one's just a little bit more difficult.
Yes. Okay, I love that. Do you have one, or do you want me to give you another one?
Yes, this comes from Alley Cat, and this feeds directly into our system. The most nonsensical fighting card minigame that gets more and more convoluted as the game goes on.
Okay, so do you have like a starter deck at the beginning of that chapter?
Yes,
and as the chapter goes on,
at the beginning of that chapter, as the chapter goes on, you'll get more and more cards from the people that you beat. From there, the game will also open up a shop where you can go and buy new cards for your deck.
Oh my god.
It will expand out so much through the rest of the game. Every time you like go off the beaten path, you'll find a new card. What? Just like The Witcher.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what'd be kind of cool is maybe whoever our final murderer is, like they don't introduce a new mini game. I wonder if their investigation can only be done. Wait, hold the fuck on. I have it. So the final guy is maybe at the beginning of the game, you know who all of the suspects are, but the way we halt progression of this game or create a natural progression is you can't do an investigation until you, a la Zelda, unlock a tool from a previous investigation. So those tools can be a fishing rod, a deck of cards, or that's that way. So you don't just go to like Brutus as your final, like to take on Brutus. You need to beat him in all of the mini games that all of the other cases have given you. So that's how we kind of give some direction to this game. Like Zelda, you can only access certain areas once you get the wind boomerang, or once you get the bomb or the sky hook.
Those areas, you just can't get anything out of anybody around.
Yes, you kind of get a feel of like, okay, I need to come back to this zone later. Is this kind of a Metroidvania investigation game at that point?
It is, but in a way of like, you can get totally lost in the town and you'll never know what you're supposed to be doing. Like, nobody will ever say it straight up. You have to love feel Dark Souls all the time.
Love Dark Souls. Love it when it does that. Don't know where to go. I've had that happen a couple times in Bloodborne right now. I'm like, I don't know where to go.
Bloodborne's a little bit easier than...
It is nicer than Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3 was definitely more guilty of that than Bloodborne. But I think that's because Dark Souls 3 has way more branching paths that you can go down that just lead to optional bosses that you think like, oh, I'm going to go down this path. That's going to lead to like the next required boss of this game. And it just turns out it's the Crystal Dragon that whoops your ass and you're totally underleveled for. I'm not bitter about it. All right. So that's E2 Brute, I think, is our game. Are we ready for patch notes?
I'm ready to go to patch notes. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My phone buzzed. Shut the fuck up. Who's texting me at 9 a.m.? Chill out, y'all.
That was legit anger, actually. That wasn't like...
You know what it is? I bet you $3 right now. It's our friends group chat. Somebody dropped in a Rise and Grind message into our Facebook group chat.
Hey, AJ, shouldn't we like talk about, I don't know,
hello,
fucking
everybody, and
podcasty
welcome
shit?
to Patch Notes. Today on Patch Notes, I have a warning, a grim reminder.
Okay.
It's the holiday season. Blake and I mentioned that this is the last episode of the year. Mm-hmm. Now, some of you eagle-eyed listeners might be looking at the calendar and you're like, well, hold on. There's still like 2 weeks left in this year. But don't get it twisted. Just because we're not releasing something doesn't mean that we don't expect things from you, the audience.
Oh, you know what? It is the holiday season and it is the gift giving season. All we want for Christmas is that shiny new Spotify review. You can actually leave reviews and leave positive reinforcement for AJ and I on Spotify. The bulk of our listeners are on Spotify. And thank God, nobody's on iTunes anymore. Even though that is still the bigger platform.
I still use podcasts on iTunes just because it downloads to my phone in the mornings.
I hate the interface of iTunes. I don't
use
like
iTunes. I use like the Apple Podcasts catcher app. Again,
I don't
just
care.
because
Anything
iTunes,
I steer clear of it. I'm a Spotify boy all the way. That's where I get my podcasts. And if you like listening to our podcast and want to give AJ and I a nice little bit of holiday cheer, please leave a positive review on our Spotify, and we hope you enjoyed this episode and have a safe, happy holidays. Even though we're not going to be here, we still have plenty of content on our YouTube channel. We just finished up a couple of Let's Plays, so if you want to binge some of those and hang out with us, that would be awesome. Thank you very much.
And if anybody's looking for a New Year's resolution, might I propose that New Year's resolution is sharing Spiritual Successor to more friends all of 2022.
Be that annoying person that's like, hey, I got a podcast for you. He's like, oh yeah, right? There's like 1,000 of them. Thanks.
It's literally me. That is literally like 3 of my last conversations with my sister. As always, everybody, our intro and outro is Cheap Shot by Anamanaguchi, an excellent song from an excellent band for an excellent game. I have been one of your hosts, AJ Hart.
And I have been your other host, Blake Rea.
This has been Spiritual Successor, and these are cool games
that should not be made.